So let's get right into it. Back in November 2023, the company right at the heart of the whole AI revolution, OpenAI, was basically thrown into a 5-day civil war. It was this insane boardroom drama that just spilled out into public, and it revealed this ferocious power struggle over the future of, well, the world's most important technology. This is the story of the OpenAI coup. Okay, so picture this. It's Friday, November 17th. Sam Altman, the celebrated CEO of OpenAI, he's in a fancy hotel in Las Vegas for the Formula One race. He logs onto a Google Meet, probably thinking it's just a routine call, but instead he's staring at 4 of the 5 board members staring right back at him. On that call, OpenAI's chief scientist, a guy named Ilya Sutskever, he just gets straight to the point. Sam, you're fired. Effective immediately. Altman is, as you can imagine, completely stunned. His number 2, Greg Brockman, gets kicked off the board just moments later. And then, minutes after that, this public statement drops, and it sends shockwaves through the entire tech world. And the reason they gave? This incredibly vague accusation of not being consistently candid. What does that even mean? So how in the world did a company that was founded on this grand mission to benefit humanity get to a point of such a spectacular implosion? Yeah, to really get that, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. You see, OpenAI was actually born out of fear, and specifically Elon Musk's fear. When Google bought the AI lab DeepMind, Musk got totally obsessed with the idea that Google's co-founder, Larry Page, was going to end up controlling the future of intelligence itself. So he was determined to build a counterweight, a research lab that would work for the good of the world, not just for one massive corporation. Publicly, the mission sounded so noble, right? A nonprofit, all about openness, benefiting all of humanity. But behind closed doors, the conversations were telling a very different story. The real goal was to beat Google. The founders agreed to this massive $1 billion funding pledge just so they'd sound competitive. And even then, there was this quiet understanding that the open in OpenAI, well, that might not last forever. The real mission was to win. Now, at the center of this whole story is a figure who's been a Silicon Valley prodigy for years. To really understand the coup, you have to understand the man they tried to overthrow, Sam Altman. Altman's resume is just pure Silicon Valley royalty. I mean, he started a company as a teenager, dropped out of Stanford, and by the time he was 28, he was running Y Combinator, the most powerful startup incubator in the world. He's known as this master strategist with an absolutely unparalleled network. But, and this is important, even early in his career, he was facing accusations of being self-serving and, twisting the truth, themes that are definitely going to echo years later. His own mentor, Paul Graham, probably put it best. He said, "You could parachute him into an island full of cannibals and come back in 5 years, and he'd be the king." Sam is extremely good at becoming powerful. That's a pretty unique and formidable talent for gathering influence, and it would prove absolutely crucial in the battle for OpenAI. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's jump back into the chaos of November 2023. Altman's firing created this instant power vacuum, and what came next was just this wild 5-day scramble for control of the world's most valuable AI company. The whole crisis just escalated at this breathtaking pace. So Friday, Altman is out. By Saturday, his top execs are threatening to walk, but the board just digs in its heels. On Sunday, Altman actually comes back to the office to negotiate his return, only for the board to go and name a new interim CEO. Then Monday happens. The employees revolt. Ilya, the very guy who fired Altman, switches sides, and by Tuesday, it's all over. And the board's attempts to explain themselves? They just made everything so much worse. In this super tense all-hands meeting, Ilya Sutskever offered this, it's just a bizarre, almost mystical piece of advice to a workforce that's about to mutiny. Instead of giving them any clear answers, he tells them to just meditate on the company's computer chips. It, of course, only fueled more anger and more confusion. You see, when the board fired Sam Altman, they weren't just firing an employee. They were taking on the entire empire that he had built around himself. And that empire? Well, it was about to strike back. This right here was the checkmate move. Microsoft, OpenAI's biggest financial backer, was absolutely furious. Their CEO, Satya Nadella, didn't just side with Altman, he offered him a brand new home. And more importantly, he offered a guaranteed job to every single OpenAI employee who wanted to leave with him. And just like that, the employees' fear turned into defiance. They had a safety. And boy, did they use that leverage. An open letter started circulating demanding the board resign and bring Sam back. And within just hours, over 700 of the company's 770 employees had signed it. This wasn't just a protest, it was a near total rejection of the board's authority. Their position was completely impossible now. And then came the final turning point. The very man who led the coup was now leading the retreat. Under just immense pressure, Ilya Sutskever publicly flipped, signed the employee letter himself, and tweeted out this apology. It was the final nail in the coffin for the board's little rebellion. So on Tuesday, the board finally caved. The coup plotters were out. A new, much friendlier board was in. Sam Altman was reinstated as CEO, and his power wasn't just restored, it was cemented. The man who is extremely good at becoming powerful had won. So was this all just some entertaining piece of Silicon Valley drama? Well, the source material for this explainer, Karen Ha's book, Empire of AI, argues that it was actually something much, much more profound. It was a story about a completely new kind of power being built in our world. How introduces this really powerful metaphor, the empire of AI. And the idea is that companies like OpenAI are basically operating like modern-day colonial empires. They're extracting these vast resources from all across the globe, not to build a better world for everyone, but to concentrate immense wealth and power into the hands of a very small few. Let's look a little closer at this comparison because it's fascinating. Colonial empires, they extracted land and raw materials using subjugated labor, and they justified it all with a civilizing mission. Now look at AI empires. The resource? It's our data, our human content. The labor? It comes from low-paid gig workers all over the world. And the justification? Benefiting humanity. The structure is, well, it's alarmingly similar, isn't it? So here's why all this really matters. The coup, no matter who you think won, showed that these monumental decisions about the future of AI are being made by a tiny, unelected group of people completely in secret. The public, governments, even the company's own employees, we were all just powerless spectators to a fight that could affect every single one of our futures. Ultimately, the whole drama at OpenAI leaves us with this one fundamental question. We've just seen how fragile the governance of this technology really is. The story of this one company's internal power struggle forces all of us to ask a much bigger question. Who should have the right to make these decisions? Who actually gets to write the rules for the empire of AI?